Okay, our next presenter this morning is Colonel Zhang Li, the program manager for aircraft survivability equipment. Zhang is no new face to Army Aviation. I think this is his third program manager that I've at least known that he's been involved with. So a lot of experience with aviation, and we look forward to hearing your update.
Good morning, everyone. General St. Clair, thank you so much for hosting this event, sir. We appreciate it. Distinguished guests, warfighters, industry, multinational partners, ASE stakeholders, and PMA ASE workforce, thank you so much for allowing me to come here this morning to present. It's an honor to be here. Next chart, please. So PMA ASE is, we're evolving workforce, and we're gone from a 2 product management office to 3 product management offices, focused on the portfolio-centric programs. What I mean by that is we've gone from in the previous years, we've gone from countermeasure and sensor, and because of the dynamic nature of the portfolio, we've divided the sensor portfolio into, even further divided those into 2 product management offices. So we have the infrared countermeasure office, it's Lieutenant Colonel Rod Turner, and then we also have the missile warning office, and then now the threat warning office manages the radar warning and the laser warning. Because the complexity and the pure volume of work that's happening, we decided to divide and conquer, and that really allows us to really provide the necessary oversight and management of very high dynamic and complex systems. Next chart, please. So I'm going to put some folks on the spot. I'm going to introduce some of these folks, great Americans, that are really allowing for us to address this hard, wicked problem. Lieutenant Colonel Rod Turner, please stand up, Rod. He manages the ATIRCM and CURCM programs. Lieutenant Colonel Chris Hill is currently in school right now, so we have Mr. Lee Tutten. Lee, where you at? He's the Deputy Product Manager. Mr. David Pinkley, he's the Deputy Product Manager for Threat Warning System. Is David here? Okay, but he's the Deputy PM. We have Business Chief Kathy Harkey. Kathy, are you here? Please. Greg Johnson is my Tech Chief. Greg, back there. Jay Hale, our Log Chief. Where you at, Jay? He'll be here this morning. And then also we have Security Officer Marion Sheffield. Tom and Marion, are you here? Okay. So really, we cannot do our support to warfighters without the workforce here, as well as the other great Americans at PMA ASE. They're truly hardworking workforce, providing the right solution, providing the world-class systems to support our warfighter. What keeps me up at night is making sure that we do everything we can to make sure that our warfighters come back safely. There's some things that we can talk about and some things that we're not going to be able to talk about today. You'll be able to get more details on some of those threats as well as our programs tomorrow at the classified sessions. I think it's going to be very informative for the group. I think it's a great idea for us to open up the aperture next year to invite the industry to discuss threats as well as our programs in a more classified environment. I think that's a very good idea. Next chart, please. So this is a team sport. As you know, PMA ASE, we cannot do our work without the team of teams that are supporting ASE systems. And this involves pretty much all the enterprise, laboratories, industry partners, our user reps down in Fort Rucker, also other PMs. We have a very close relationship with other PM offices and other services. We work very closely with PMA 272. I think Dale is supposed to be here this morning from Pax River. We also work very closely with the Air Force folks at RIPAT. And as well as TAPO PM from Fort Eustis. And then also we work very closely with Intel community, various different Intel community that General Vomack talked about. We have a very close relationship with the headquarters DA and OSD stakeholders. We cannot do what we do without the support from our folks in the Pentagon. And test and evaluation is a very, very close big part of what we do here in ASE. What we're trying to do is we're trying to shorten our timeline that's required to test, developmental tests, operational tests, and then shrink that down as much as possible and get that to the field as quickly as possible. There's some things that are statutory requirements, and we recognize that. But at the same time, we're trying to work closely with our testers, both Army testers as well as DOT&E, and trying to really understand what is the minimum amount of things that's necessary to make sure that we have a safe system out there, effective system, to make sure that our products are effective against various different threats. And we work very closely with our industry partners. I talked about OEMs, second-tier suppliers, third-tier suppliers. And General Vomek mentioned about some of the challenges we have out there based on the threats as well as industrial-based situations. So we want to make sure that we work closely with our industry partners and making sure that we do our due diligence to protect our technology and providing the best solution for our warfighters. Product support, we work very closely with our PEO Aviation friends, PEO Strike, and other PEOs out there, as well as our AMCOM, AMC partners, CERDEC, CCOM, MRDEC, AMCOM, and various different organizations. And the pecking order, it's like I have lots of bosses, right? So if you want to see how many bosses I have bosses. All those stakeholders, I consider them my bosses. But most importantly, my acquisition chain of command is the PEO, General Vomek, the AAE, and the DAE, depending on the types of program we manage. And we have various different programs, especially Kirkham is an ACAT 1D program, which means that the milestone decision authority is Mr. Kendall. So we have the Mother May I for all the key decisions up to the OSD level. Next chart, please. So I know there's been a lot of discussion this morning on threats, and really the big takeaway, and for most of you folks here, you guys know what I'm talking about. We have the AMSOs, we have the industry partners, we have also the ASE stakeholders. So you understand what the threats we're talking about based on your specific portfolio that you're supporting. But for the folks that are new to ASE Portfolio, the challenges are the processing speed of the threats. They're becoming from analog to digital. A lot of these systems can be reprogrammed very, very quickly. And all those things that are out there. So the challenge is we have some of the older systems out there, 1960s, 70s technologies, threats. And then we also have the 2014, 15, 16 type technologies, as well as some of the things that people are doing in the future. So what we have to do is our programs have to be agile enough to be able to detect and counter those very much disparate types of threats out there. And that's a challenge, really. I mean, it's like you have to find a balance where you're not, being ineffective against one threat to be going after another threat. So that's the challenge that we have right now. And that's the reason why we divided the office into 3 offices, so that we can actually dive into those technologies and those programs to be able to provide you a better solution. This is a very, very tough challenge. It's a cat and mouse game. For those of you in the ISR world, especially with counter ID, it's like a cat and mouse game. And so the threat, especially with what's happening in the world right now, with A2AD type environment, with near-peer competitors, and as well as operating in a permissive and non-permissive environment, we have to constantly look at not only today, but also tomorrow and the future. And that's the thing that we're trying to do at our office, is really expand our perspective. So my perspective coming into this office is business is not as usual. We cannot be stuck on yesterday. We have to constantly innovate, constantly challenge ourselves, constantly challenge the folks out there in this audience, as well as the industry partners and S&T that are folks that are not here, and to look at what kind of things can we do to make sure that our folks come back home safely. And I have one agenda. Agenda is to protect our soldiers. If we can succeed in that as a collective organization here, the collective group, then we've done our job correctly. And that's the only agenda we have. Obviously, in a competitive environment and with a declining fiscal environment, as well as the market in the world, it's a very, very competitive market, and we recognize that. At the same time, I think innovation, being able to be competitive against your peers, as well as having the latest technologies that can be agile enough to innovate, as well as integrate into the current system, is what's sort of the path we're looking at right now for not only today, but also the future. So really the top part of this chart talks about the threats going from the antiquated threats, the 60s, 70s technologies, to the advanced threats. And then the bottom part of this chart talks about some of the evolution of our programs. And so really on the right bottom side, you see there are some of the programs that we're working right now, as well as some of the programs that are coming in the near future. And I'm going to talk about that in the next few charts. Next slide, please. So here's what we have right now. We have obviously the current systems. We have the CMOS, great system that's been out there for many years and is doing a great job. And we haven't given up on CMOS. We're continuing to innovate. We're continuing to do the things that we need to do to keep the folks protected today. So we're constantly doing things to make sure that the CMOS is a very capable system. And for those of you who operate on with this system, and the folks that will get the information tomorrow, you'll be very, very surprised on the effectiveness of the CMOS systems out there. To the right, Kirkham is the next system that's going to be out there in the field in the near future. Counter-infrared countermeasure. It is truly a game changer because not only it has great capability, but also it reduces the swap C, size, weight, power, and coolant. What I mean by that is, Kirkham is a larger system only for 47. Kirkham is miniaturizing that technology, and then now we're able to provide that system for Black Hawk, Apache, Fixed Wing, Chinooks, and other platforms. So it's really a great system that's going to be coming out to you in the near future. To the right bottom, Kirkham is also a great system that's currently right there deployed. We have systems out there downrange right now, as well as some parts of the world. And really what that does is provides us a laser countermeasure system against various different man-pad threats and very capable systems that we're also continuing to make sure those are relevant against current threats and emerging threats. The bottom, radar warning receiver, we have the typical, our own perception of RWR. This is also being very, very, a program that we're working really hard, and I'm going to talk about that in the next few charts. Really, the old days of the analog receivers are now becoming digital receivers in the near future. And then obviously the laser detector system, world's best, AVR2 Bravo, provides a great warning receiver capability for the laser threats. Next chart, please. So this is a very, very top-level chart that talks about the missile warning system and talked about the common missile warning system. The Army's intent is to go from current missile warning system to the new missile warning system in the near future. If you look at the technologies out there, the other services have made that transition to go from the current systems to the future systems. So we're right now making sure that we keep pace with the current system. At the same time, we go ahead and look at the future system, which is the advanced threat detection system. So the team released a request for information back in June of this year to understand what type of the status of the market and the technologies, and we received actually quite a few information back from the industry. And right now we're working with the industry to set some visits and to make sure assess the technology readiness level. At the end of the day, what we want is, and I heard early comments earlier about how do you get those technologies introduced earlier. There's been a lot of work on missile warning technologies. We recognize that based on our market research. We've been doing market research for quite a few years now, and what we want to do is we want to leverage those investments from the industry as well as other investments from the services, and then take those experience and then accelerate our acquisition process. So what we want to do is really we want to try to innovate our acquisition process by tailoring our traditional DoD 5000.02 process and moving that left as much as possible. So I used to be about 300 pounds. I lost a lot of weight because out of stress and all the, no, just kidding. It's been every time we go up to the Pentagon, we're asked to shave the schedule, asked to accelerate, and it's all for the great reasons. And we're trying to do everything we can to move the schedule to the left. And so the team right now is working really hard to understand the state of technologies and trying to move the schedule left as much as possible. And understanding, providing those opportunities to assess those technologies fairly and to make sure having knowledge points to, based on those knowledge points, make those decisions to to accelerate even more. So that's our strategy. Obviously, I can't talk about the details because some of these are pretty decisional, but really I think it's a great opportunity for Army to look into the next missile warning system. And the big feature about this ATDS is not, let's not only focus on the sensors, right? Because the sensors, so imagine the sensor technology. The sensor technology is changing very rapidly, right? If you look at your digital camera, that you had digital camera back in 5 years ago, look at today, look at tomorrow, it's changing very quickly. The processing speed is improving, is accelerating, as well as the sensor technology and the various different types of sensors are out there. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have the necessary processing capacity and the back-end piece, as well as the software piece, and the ICD, interface control document areas. And I'm going to talk about the three pillars of the open architecture in the next couple of charts. But really having those features into the processor so that we can able to add or change sensors without changing the program and being hardwired to the current system. So that's the piece that we want to focus on with the ATDS. And really also another thing that we're focusing on is making ATDS one of the controllers for ASE systems to truly integrate all those different sensors and providing that data to the aircraft. Next chart, please. So I talked about the infrared countermeasure, again going from ATIRCM into CIRCM, which is a lightweight advanced countermeasure, and this is a great technology that the warfighter is going to see in the near future. And which is a phenomenal piece that I think is going to be a game changer for against manpads. Next chart, please. So on the top, obviously, is the APR-39 family series of systems, AVR 104, as well as CV1. But the next system that's coming out there in the near future is DV2. What does that mean? It really goes from the analog system to digital system. As you know, as far as the radar, RF threats are really advanced out there, especially if you look at the near-peer threats. They're spending a lot of money on radar systems. And really, the DV2 system allows us to detect that and then give the indication to the pilots for maneuvering around the threats. So really, that's a game changer, and we're really excited about the system. So here's what I talked about earlier about multinational as well as the sister service. We're partnering, adopting the Navy system. So the lead program office for the DV2 is PMA 272 out of Pax River. They've done the work. So based on their work, we don't have to start from the beginning. We're basically partnering with them. In fact, we're not only partnering with them in just systems, we're actually doing a lot of testing with them. So a lot of the testing that we've done this year will be used to inform actually the Navy's production decision, which is a great success story. So DOT&E is very happy. It's very rarely that they're happy. Is anyone here from DOT&E? Just kidding. But we're working very closely with them, and they're very happy with our partnership. Again, mentioned about the LDS. It's a great system, and we're in the process of fielding those to the 47s. Next chart. So I talked about the open architecture. I know that term's been out there this morning. And here is something that, especially for the industry, if you want to, and by the way, this is not something that I made up last night. This is something that the aviation enterprise, the FACE consortium, have been using this type of information. So really, we wanted to focus on three different areas: open interface standard, the ICD. What we're trying to do is we're trying to standardize the interface control document. What that is basically standardizing the messages, right, of what comes into the aircraft. We don't want to have any proprietary message coming from box A, B, C. We want to standardize those things. And then the next thing is physical architecture, the back-end piece, right? If you look at for example, your computer, you want to have the back-end that allows you to put in different types of connectors, right? You don't want to be only defined to one interface. iPhone 7, right? You have to use iPhone 7 jack, right? You don't want to be, nothing against iPhone 7, but you don't want to be limited to one particular vendor or one particular solution. You want to make sure that you have the option of using best solutions out there. And then software architecture, providing that interface for allowing the growth and obviously the agility to be able to adapt to the latest technologies. So really, this is a system of systems approach. So a lot of times when you hear from our office, especially as well as ASE Enterprise, when you hear open architecture, really focus on these three things, and especially for ATDS or other programs that's coming down in the future. These are the things that we're going to be looking for as we talk to the industry. And the last chart, obviously, kind of reinforces our vision is to make sure that we're able to adapt to the threats by interfacing different technologies. And before I get off the stage, I want to show a video. This is a video that I showed last year, but I think it's a very sends a strong message of our commitment at PMASE to protect the warfighters and basically do the best we can to bring them home safely. So, movie, please.
The threat is growing, changing, so the mission must continue to evolve.
Missile, 9 o'clock.
Aircraft Survivability Equipment, or ASE, is a dedicated workforce that develops and fields technology to prevent aircraft vulnerability. Attacks on our soldiers come in unpredictable forms and erratic patterns. The ever-responsive ASE team has created a battle-ready product line to detect, defeat, or avoid hostile fire, IR, RF, and laser threats. As the enemy evolves, the soldiers of tomorrow will need cross-platform integrated ways to identify, correlate, and deflect increasingly complex dangers. ASE provides this capability. This is the mission of the ASE workforce in an increasingly volatile battlefield. To provide products that help our soldiers get the job done effectively, efficiently, safely.
Thank you very much for your patience.
Okay, question time.
Thanks, sir. Jay Thayer from SCI Technologies. So as your partner trying to develop some of our requirements, as you know, we can make a flying bicycle, but if that's not what you require, it's all for naught. Does PM Aviation Systems have a requirement to provide this data to a network to be off-boarded? And that'd be my first question. I got to follow on to that. Sorry, sir.
Go ahead. I'll write down the question.
The second part to that, obviously we know that it's not enough for just gun 1 to know he's being shot at. We want gun 5, 6, and 7 who can do something to know about it. But also to build the intelligence architecture and intelligence picture so that we can counter that threat with TTPs in the future. I mean, in Generation 4 warfare, 10 aircraft are getting shot at a day. Future warfare, it's going to be 10 an hour. So we've got to be able to absorb that data a lot quicker. So how is PM Aviation System partnering not just with the network side to offboard that data, but the intelligence community as well, sir? Thank you.
Right, that's a very good question. So that's, and when I answered the two questions in two pieces, right? So the first is we need to make sure that our systems are networked and distributed. What I mean by that is right now we're obviously very federated system, and it's a very, very localized, point solution, right? So one aircraft, Chalk 2, Chalk 3, Chalk 4, that data is not shared. So when the threat is, in the first Chalk is, sees a threat or, dispenses flare, Chalk 2, 3, 4, or even the different flight, they don't have SA, right? They only from voice or maybe text. So what we want to do is obviously we want to make sure that in the future we're able to network that information between the aircraft. And then at the same time, we need to be able to distribute that information to the C2 nodes, right? So for example, the TOC. The TOC needs to understand that, instantaneously that the aircraft is being, that this flight is being shot at, so they can send the information to the other flight and to deviate the flight route. At the same time, we want to be able to send that information to the Intel folks, because they're right next to each other in the TOC, to D6A, and that allows us to share that information at the Intel community. So there's a lot of things that obviously I think we need to work on, and really, crawl, walk, run, and I think we've done some S&T efforts to validate that, and I think we're working with the Fort Rucker folks to make sure that we're able to, in the future, inject those opportunities. So right now, our main focus is obviously making sure providing the best protection for situational awareness, for detect, defeat against threats for that particular aircraft, but in the future, we're going to have to share that data between aircraft and then distribute that data to the ground station so that we're able to go after those things. The technology is there. I mean, if you look at it from the whole system of systems perspective, I think we can get there. We just have to make sure that we can actually integrate those technologies and be able to provide those data to the other aircraft as well as the ground station. Thank you.
What else we got? Somebody else with a question? Everything's working perfectly. No challenges in the field. This is your chance. Oh, here we go.
CW4, Brian McGlone with U.S. RCENT. Sir, is it safe to assume that due to the partnership with the Navy with regards to the 39 Delta Victor 2s that we can expect a delay in fielding to the end user due to that partnership, due to production limits? And then who has actual priority of fielding? Will it be us or the Navy during that?
So I've been lifting a lot of weights, right? So I can do arm wrestling. So that's a very good question, and I think we're trying to. So first of all, the production decision, we're probably, based on we're doing all the testing right now based on available aircraft. In fact, we flew hundreds of hours this year on the Apaches, Delta and Echo model Apaches, to inform both the Army and the Navy. So we're going to move out, probably recommend the production decision, like an LRIP decision, early next year, calendar year. So far as that's a very good question on production prioritization. I think we'll be able to work together because this system is something that we have to get it out to the field as soon as possible. We won't be able to wait until they field all their aircraft and then we field ours, right? Is Dale here? Not yet. So we need to get after the Navy rep here. He'll be here this morning. But that's a very good question, and we're going to work really hard with the Navy folks. I am in constant communication with them. Our office, and we will make sure that we're not in the back of the line in that priority. Thank you.
Next.
So Colonel Lee does have the task from me, so I am concerned. So we are tied and coupled together with the Navy, but about prioritization. So his due out is whether or not we award a standalone Army contract. I believe we can still get the right price break, support, and all that, but we don't want to be bogged down because of competing service priorities. So that is an action his team is looking at, is can we go ahead and award a standalone production contract, not to impact our needs.
Sure.
Anybody else? Going once? Going twice.
Okay, thanks, Young. We greatly appreciate it.